We are starting with MP Holland for 6 minutes.
Thanks, Chair. Minister, what's your projected growth rate for your government spending next year?
I'd like to start, Mr. Helen, by talking about one of the things that we all know can make life more affordable for Canadians.
Minister, respectfully, I only have 6 minutes. It was a quick answer on the question. I'll continue my questioning. Thank you, Chair. The Governor of the Bank of Canada, who sat in that chair recently, said, we expect government spending to grow at about 2.5%. That means as if all the spending plans are realized, government spending will be adding to demand more than supply is growing. And in an environment where we're trying to moderate spending and get inflation down, that's not helpful. I'll help you out, Minister. In your own fall economic statement on page 77, according to your numbers, it calculates to be about 5.5% in growth. That's more than double what the Governor said would be helpful. The Governor also said that your fiscal policy and his monetary policy of trying to tackle inflation by raising interest rates are rowing in opposite directions. Do you agree with him or do you disagree with him?
So let me quote the Governor from Wednesday, the day after I tabled my fall economic statement. He said the fall economic statement is, quote, not adding new or additional inflationary pressures over the next couple of years, which is the critical period over which we will be looking to reduce inflation and get it back to target. He also said,
respectfully,
and
Minister,
I quote
by adding
the Governor,
$20 billion,
I'm sorry.
MP Holland, we've had this conversation before. I don't want you interjecting when the minister is answering, or any witness.
Very simple question.
That's okay if it's a simple question, MP Holland. I want you to listen to the answer and then ask your next question. That's what I want you to do.
Point of order.
That's the point of order. Yes, MP Lawrence.
Mr.
What
Chair,
I'm asking for is decorum and respect.
We get the minister so seldom here. I think that we should be able to allow to ask the questions we want to ask. I believe that's called democracy.
Yes, MP Lawrence, you can ask the questions you want to ask. You have to then listen to the answers, and I don't want crosstalk. It affects the interpreters. We hear this all the time, and we want this kind of things, these things to stop here at our committee. So I'm asking
on that point of order.
On the point of order, yes.
With respect, we have seen that Minister Freeland and all Liberal ministers are adept at filibustering their way out of
That is not
committee.
a point of order, MP Lawrence. What we're talking about right now is the health and safety of our interpreters and stopping crosstalk and respect and decorum. We're going to allow the minister to answer the question, and then MP Helen will have time to ask his next question.
Chair, respectfully, I'll ask in another way.
I wasn't finished my answer, I'm afraid.
Well, it's my time, Minister, respectfully.
MP Helen, again.
Point of order.
MP Helen, the minister had the floor. Allow the minister to finish the answer to your question and then ask your next question. That's fine. Minister?
I was asked a direct question about comments from the Governor of the Bank of Canada. I responded by directly quoting comments he made about fiscal policy last week. So let me simply say, the Governor said, after I tabled the fall economic statement, and I quote, the fall economic statement also includes some fiscal guardrails beyond the near term, and from the perspective of monetary policy, I do think that's helpful. So we've had a clear statement from the Governor of the Bank of Canada about the fall economic statement and how fiscal policy and monetary policy are working.
Is if you spent above 2.5%, and in your own fall economic statement, the calculations work out to more than 5.5%. So was the Governor of the Bank of Canada lying? Yes or no? Just a yes or no.
As I said, the Governor had an opportunity last Wednesday to comment directly on the fall economic statement. He did, and I've quoted his remarks.
So I'll take that answer as I don't agree with the Governor. I'll have to move on.
Well, I'm going to interject. Look, no, MP Howland, again, I don't want this happening this whole meeting. MP Allen, you'll ask your question, you'll get an answer, and then you can ask your next question. But do not crosstalk. Again, for the interpreter's sake, we hear this all the time for the interpreters. So we're going to stop this behavior.
Chair, I have 6 minutes to ask
I just stopped your time. I stopped your time.
It was a simple yes or no answer. So I'm going to move on.
You still have 3 minutes and 7 seconds. The time has stopped. Go ahead.
I'll move on. Minister, what are the interest payments Canadian tax holders are stuck with next year on your government's debt? I just need the number.
The debt service charges are outlined in detail on page 77 in English of the Fall Economic
82,
Statement,
actually.
and
Page
page
82.
90 in French.
I just need the number.
But let me
So
also
if you have it,
point. Let me
Minister-
also point out.
Minister, I just
No,
need the
MP
number.
Howland, MP Howland, again, it's happening. It doesn't stop. Listen,
Yeah.
MP Howland, I'm
There's
letting
no
you.
answers
I'm
coming.
letting
Mr.
you know.
Chair, point of order.
Yes, MP Lawrence.
Point of order.
Yes.
You're the one who's cross-talking right now.
No,
You're continually
no,
interrupting Mr. Halan.
MP Lawrence, that's not a point of order. And so, MP Halan, ask your question, allow for an answer, and then ask your next question.
I'll help out the minister. Once again, on page 82, actually, Minister,
No,
of your own
the-
fall economic statement,
MP Allen, you do not have the floor right now.
it's my time,
No,
Chair.
no.
It's
the,
my time.
The minister was answering your question.
No, she wasn't.
The minister was answering your question. Allow the minister to answer the question, and then you
just
can
need
get
the
on
number,
to
Minister,
you can get
please.
on to your next question.
What's the
Okay,
number?
okay.
Interest payments next year on Canadians.
As I said, the debt service charges are clearly outlined on pages
So what's the
77
number?
in English, 90 in French. But let me point out some important features of Canada's
let me
fiscal
answer
track.
because you're not answering the
Our
question, Minister.
debt to GDP
on page
ratio
82
and
of your
deficit.
fall economic statement,
Mr. Speaker, I can't
the
speak when
interest
someone else
charges
is
on your
speaking.
government's debt
Okay.
is going to be $52.4 billion. Can you
If
let
Mr.
Canadians
Hallen
know?
is interested
can
in
you
speaking
please
to
let
himself, I'm not
Canadians
sure
know
Yeah,
why it's
Minister
valuable
What the hell?
to
and,
come
Minister
to
and
committee.
MP Howland,
cross-talking
again,
right now.
yes, that's right. So we don't want any crosstalk. That's what we're asking for, no crosstalk.
So let me continue. So we've established that the interest on your government's debt on Canadians' heads is going to be $52.4 billion. Again, on page 82, can you please let Canadians know what the health transfer costs are going to be next year?
As I was saying before I was interrupted, when it comes to Canada's fiscal track, it's worth pointing out that Canada's
Point of
debt
order, Mr.
and
Chair.
deficit are both.
Point of order. Mr. Halan asked a very simple question, and I do not understand why the minister
That is not
can't
a point
answer
of
any
order,
question.
MP
Yes,
Lawrence.
a witness has an obligation
no,
to
that is
respond
not
to
an-
questions. They absolutely do, especially when they're a minister of the Crown.
The witness is answering questions. Allow the minister to answer the question, MP Lawrence. And Minister, go ahead, Minister.
So our debt and deficit are both the lowest in the G7. Canada
That wasn't
also
the question,
continues
Minister.
to enjoy a AAA credit rating. And let me give you two other data points on the sustainability of Canada's fiscal position. First, foreign investors are buying Canadian government bonds. The share
Minister, I'll
of
give
foreign
you one more
investors
chance.
in our debt has gone from
give you one
around
more chance.
15%
What is
in
the number
2008
of what
to
the
close
Canada Health
to
transfer will be
30% today.
next year?
Those are
Just the
investors
number.
voting with their money.
Just the number, Minister.
Thank
What
you,
is the
Mr.
number
Chair.
of the Canada Health transfers next year? Can you provide a number?
Is the floor
Page
mine,
82.
Mr. Chair,
The floor
or
is
is
yours now
Mr.
to
Howland
answer the
interested
question.
Page
in answering
82,
his own
table
questions?
A1.6.
Another relevant point when it comes to the sustainability of Canada's debt is the fact that Canada, because we have a fiscally responsible
So I'll take my
economic
time
plan,
back. Let
currently
me establish
enjoys
for
a premium
Canadians, since the
on
minister won't
US
answer.
debt.
The
Right now,
interest
the
on
Canadian
Canadian
10-year today,
taxpayers because of
it's
the government's
impossible for
debt.
me to answer, Mr. Chair.
Minister and
when-
MP Howland.
I'll take my time back.
It's not going to work with this this crosstalk.
I'll continue
so,
then. I have another question for the minister. Minister, so I've had to establish for you, since you won't answer yourself, that the interest charges on Canadian taxpayers because of your government's debt is $52.4 billion. Health transfers next year are going to be $52.1 billion. So why are you paying bankers, bondholders, and your Bay Street buddies more money than what doctors, nurses, and the healthcare system gets next year?
Minister.
Mr. Chair, thanks to our government's fiscally responsible economic plan, in addition to attracting foreign investors, Canada enjoys a premium relative to the U.S. when it comes to borrowing. That means Canadians pay less than Americans do. That speaks to the effect of having a fiscally responsible economic plan to make the necessary investments in Canada and Canadians. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, MP Howland.